Okay.
Okay, I think we're live.
All right.
You can take a sip of your coffee. That's legal going live.
Oh yeah. Well, we're informal here, right?
Yes, we are. And here we are with the fabulous James Redfield, who is very, very near and dear to my heart, because I always tell James and his wife Sally that they're the reason that Mishka Productions and Celebrate Your Life events got started in the first place. And it's really, really true. They are totally responsible.
Well, listen, that was a fun gathering, We were all new to the business.
I know. I mean, that was we did your event in 1994, and your book had, I think, just hit Celestine Prophecy. Is this the cutest thing in the world? So, hey, everybody. I'm here with New York Times bestselling author of The Celestine Prophecy, The 10th Insight, The Secret of Shambhala. Okay, tell me more, Tim. I know there's two more.
Well, the 10th Insight, The Secret of Shambhala, and then the last one was the 12th Insight.
The 12th
I'm working on a new one now, so that's a lot of fun.
Yay! One of my favorite books of all time ever. And of course, it started with The Celestine Prophecy. And here's my big version, my little mini one. This pocket one has all the insights just compiled in it. So you can just like open a page and say, okay, what is the third insight? Master of energy. And I love this. Did you even know this existed? I wondered about that. Did you know this existed, James?
Oh yeah, of course.
It's the cutest thing in the world.
One of the things we did during the rush, to talk about Goldstein, and what's really fun for me is that it's now the books have been adopted by millennials, right? And so they're passing it along to their friends, and we're talking about what does real spiritual experience feel and seem like, and how do you apart from religion, how do you find these spiritual experiences? And that, of course, the books are full of 12 understandings of how the world works spiritually. And I think those insights are high energy experiences that raise our inspiration energy. And that's I think what's happening is that all of us are tired of being shut down emotionally. We're trying to break out. I think it is a real reset. It's not a reset politically. It's a reset spiritually. And that's an important distinction, because the spiritual comes in through the heart, and these experiences have to be embraced.
Absolutely.
In order to really tune in to what I consider the most creative life we can have.
Yes, and the wisdom in the books, and especially, what I started with Celestine. I mean, it's just timeless wisdom. I mean, it is so appropriate for whether it was 25 years, what's 26 years now, 26 years. I've known you for 26 years. How is that possible, James, that we've known each other?
Time flies. Time flies. Really, if you have a project, get going with it out there, because time flies.
It's true, it does. And everybody's telling, one of my favorite books of all time, so powerful and meaningful. Somebody just said, wow, I just saw you a few years ago at a workshop in Skokie. That's Nancy. And then Janet said that she loves the little book. And someone else is sharing that your book was so transformative during my spiritual awakening. I have to tell you this, I've given Celestine Prophecy away as gifts and presents. I can't tell you how many times, because especially when it is the perfect book. Like when someone's like, I don't know what's going on with my life, and I don't know what's happening and where to go and what to do. This is the book. I mean, this is the book. It is this fabulous spiritual adventure story that just takes you through all of this amazing spiritual wisdom. And of course, you made it into a film also.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, the Celestine Prophecy movie. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we sweated a lot of blood on that one, but trying to get through Hollywood with a degree of authenticity.
I know.
But it was well worth spending 3 years in LA.
Yeah.
I'm not cutting down LA. Listen, LA is as good as their people. The people in LA are great. And Hollywood, though, and it's a business, is an interesting thing to experience.
Definitely. Now, I know you've been asked this 10,000 times, and I know we've been reading the book all month, and I've been reading excerpts from the book. And of course, one of my favorite insights is Insight 7, and I read that the other day. And I know that you get asked this all the time, that, especially in the beginning, this is a fiction, correct?
Well, I've always said about that book, it's all the important parts are true.
Mm-hmm.
So it's built, it's based on my experiences as a conglomerate of experiences, but it also, those experiences people recognize because so many people have had a lot of these experiences already. What I tried to do in the books, though, is talk about how fundamental they are to a great life, a high potential, fulfilling life. Because, in the greatest, to me, the basic message is, once we know sort of what the true experiences are that we call spiritual connection, or read about them, or just think about them. People talk about these kinds of experiences. Mm-hmm. But what's important is to know that there are understandings of how the world is designed spiritually. Mm-hmm. Because, if you get in alignment with the design, and the design is for us to be all we can be, and these mysterious coincidences happen to us called synchronicity, and they deliver the help that is our birthright to give. But you have to get in alignment with how the design is. So I always like to say that these insights, these understandings, I didn't make up. I experienced them like so many people have. But the understandings have come to a consensus during a 100-year-old search for wisdom about the human potential, and we call it the human potential movement. So it's 100 years old now, and it started when Carl Jung broke from Freud, who had a very mechanistic kind of materialistic idea of human potential. Mm-hmm. And Jung said, wait a minute, no, there's a spiritual component in our personalities, in our experience of the world. And after that, there was a kind of 100 years of talking about, well, what is that spiritual potential? What are all these experiences about that define spiritual connection? Mm-hmm. So if you just say the word spirituality and you mean it intellectually, the message is there are multi-experiences that adepts and mystics and poets and ordinary people have experienced in terms of the spiritual connection. Right. And once we know them, again, there are alignments that we can get into, and we base habits on these experiences. For instance, synchronicity is a basic phenomenon in the universe, which means we experience mysterious coincidences that actually help us in life. Right. We can all look back to the first job or a series of jobs or breakthroughs and finding that great relationship for the first time. It all happened and seems like it was fated. It was destiny. Okay. There are these mysterious coincidences seeking to pull us all into a flow of destiny around giving, and that's a basic karmic design that we can talk about at length. I'd love to, but it's a basic karmic design that once we get into alignment with that, then our lives begin to really get helped, more synchronicity, and things go easier because we open up our intuitive guidance and intellect, and then we get hunches that we can follow that take us around trouble instead of right into it. So it all works together to have this great life that's easier. Life's not supposed to be so hard. We're helped in life once we tune in.
I know. I have to read a couple of I don't know if you can see the comments, but I can. I have to read a couple of comments to you because honestly, I felt the same way when I read Celestine, and I know millions and millions of people across the world did. Debbie is sharing, after reading the book, I was able to notice the energy fields at times around certain things, as well to see at a distance the energy waves between two people standing 6 feet apart talking. It was so interesting to see that. I mean, this book is just, it opened like millions of people's hearts and minds up. One of the first books, if not the first book I ever read many, many years ago. I love it. That's by Tracy. Janet in the UK shares, it changed my life 10 years ago at a very difficult time for me when I was stranded in Cyprus due to flights being grounded because of ash from the volcano that erupted. Janet, oh my gosh, it opened my eyes to synchronicities because I never would have read it if I hadn't been there at that time. Oh, somebody else shared, beautiful book, the one I have referred to friends the most in all these years, such heartfelt storytelling. Synchronicity is an easy marker. Thanks so much for confirming this. It's just, I mean, this book was like, it's like the Bible in a way for people.
Well, it's a good people.
Because it gives us confirmation. I mean, what you did in all of your work is that you gave all of us confirmation, and you give all of us confirmation for things that, yes, we might know about, but you're saying it, and you've given us almost this guide, this pathway to life. It's almost like a manual for life with the insights, is the way I used to see them. Whenever I would get into relationships, I said, oh, am I in a control drama? Am I doing an intimidating thing? Am I doing?
Well, it's again, those are, I was just talking about the experiences that are available and pulling from the consensus of what's coming out of the human potential movement. So I always like to say, I didn't make these up. These are not James' prescriptions for a happy life.
I think you meant
grounded, really, kind of quasi science about what is our potential to in terms of tuning in to the spiritual connection that leads to all this high creativity, and it's something that people have to just step into. I've got a course going right now on our community, Celestine Prophecy community, and it's on our site, Celestine Vision, and it's about moving from understanding, which is kind of intellectual, to actual ability, which means the ability to keep a flow of synchronicity going, the ability to stay on the right side of karma, the ability to uplift others routinely because we remember to do it, right? So it's putting everything, making it a habit, and that's the way to integrate it all into this. I call it a supercharged, creative, sort of following the calling of destiny in your life. And again, there's several things that we have to make a habit, like finding the silver lining and everything. That's a big habit that we have to do, because otherwise we hit brick walls in our projects, for instance, and we go, oh no,
brick walls in the world right now. I've got a live event company not allowed to do live events. That's a little bit of a brick wall.
Well, good. Because you have, what you have to do is you find a silver lining in whatever seems negative, and it's always there.
Yeah,
it's always there. We can find it. You may not like it so much, but your soul will recognize that, oh, I have to make an adjustment in my attitude, or more heart opening. All these things we're asked to do to really be able to complete our destiny in the world.
I love that we're having this conversation, because I'm going to share a little bit of the story, and Everyone, I love this. Phoebe is sharing, read this years ago, and wherever I went on a flight or in a restaurant, people were carrying the book with them. It's so magical. Thanks for uplifting and creating more awareness for everyone. Oh, I just want to cry.
Thank you.
Isn't he amazing, you guys? He is.
You know,
It's true though. So just quickly, the story. I was it was around 1993 and 94, and my career as an actress just plummeted. I got really ill with this terrible eating disorder, barely 100 pounds, living in LA. And my mom said to me, why don't you come to stay with me for a while? Let's get you a good therapist and heal. So I came to Arizona, and I started working in this little bookstore for $4.50 an hour. This is how the whole thing started. Now, I was an actress. I was a professional actress. I was signed with William Morris. I'd done a ton of regional theater, and I couldn't now all of a sudden get a job to save my life. I could not get acting work. I was auditioning. I don't know if you know this piece of it, but I could not get any acting work. So, and here I was in Phoenix, and there's really wasn't a lot of professional theater here. And so, in this, effort to heal myself through this whole eating thing, went to see this therapist. Then I working at this bookstore, and the owner handed me this book and said, this man gave me the book outside of his trunk of his car or something. She had it handed to her by you. I love this book. I know you've got event experience. I'd love to do this event. Would you do the event? So I took the book home and I read it, and I was like, oh, wow, this is I read it overnight, and I'm not a fast reader. I loved it so much. I stayed up until like 4 a.m. reading it. And I came back and I couldn't put it down. Came back the next day and said, yes, I'd love to help you do this. And so that's how I met James Redfield. So this career as an actress, what we're saying now is like looking for the silver lining, was slowly dying. All right. And I was letting that go, but I didn't know that's what was happening at the time, because I thought, oh, I'm doing this one event, I'm going back to LA. And then your wife called me and said, I just got published by Time Warner with Celestine Meditations. That's how the whole thing started. So it was really painful for me to let go of that career, or that potential, because that's the only thing I really knew how to do. So I thought, well, 25 years later, we've been doing Celebrate Your Life events. And it's your fault.
You're still entertaining us too.
Yeah, I mean, but
the
thing about the silver lining, at the time, I certainly couldn't see it. I certainly could not see it. I mean, I cried and cried and cried and thought, what am I going to do with my life? And here in walks James Redfield with the Celestine Prophecy.
Well, that's the way the world is supposed to work, and it's designed that way. It's the only thing holding us back at all is the way we seek to control our other people, the control dramas that we have in our lives. Those are just habits to break, of course. And the other side of that is this guidance by your intuitive intelligence, and that sets up being just in the right place to have a life-changing synchronicity. That's the flow that the world's designed to be in. And unconscious controlling is the only thing that holds us back. That and bad karma. We have to give to. In my view, the karmic world is all about giving, and ideally, what would that makes sense, right? We're learning to give on this planet, and once you give, you begin to attract other people that give. And the best kind of giving is when you're talking to somebody, maybe it's a complete stranger. If you search your intuitive intelligence, and what'll happen is that and ask, what does this person need from me? You'll remember some episode in your life, and you'll just, we do it all the time, just naturally. But doing it consciously means that we can really, give them our honest experience and share how we solved a problem or had a breakthrough. And what do we hear when we do that? You know, we hear, I needed to hear that's what I needed to hear right at this moment. We've all experienced this.
Right.
So if we think of, but we have to think more, as much at least, about the synchronicity we have for another person as what synchronicity they're going to give us, how they can help us. So when you're a helper, it's think of that at least equal amounts in first. What happens is that we attract into our world, they just come into our world to help us, to bring a synchronicity for us, because that's the karma. We draw those kinds of experiences as people in the world. Now, if we're a taker, even if it's unconscious, if we put somebody down because we felt like they trying to steal our energy and we're defending ourselves, so we just jab them with something to make us feel better, that's taking. What happens when you take is that you draw into your lives people who take. Almost always it's exactly the way we take. Our drama is thrown in our face.
Mm-hmm.
So because it's not for punishment, it's for it's for insights. Mm-hmm. You get to see the harm you're doing to other people, and you can let it go and move to the helping side. If you can't think of a synchronicity for someone, just try to give them energy. Intend to give them energy. It fills you up first and flows over. It keeps what I call inspiration energy high. Mm-hmm. And that's what we need right now, because let me tell you, now this reset is tough, because never have so many people in the world been separated from their chosen preoccupations and the way we distract ourselves and make ourselves feel good. Suddenly we're isolated with our own thoughts. And I believe it's the thoughts that are coming to us they're of a higher spiritual questioning. I think it's going on all over the world. And, there's a kind of dark side that is taking, I should say, kind of advantage of what's going on in the world, and they feel powerful by shutting people down. But that's what they're doing is creating a silver lining for all of us, because out of this we'll come to a place, or can come to a place, where we're more spiritually connected, we're more sensitive and observant of the help we get in the world, because we're asking for help. And intending to find a way to break through into a more creative life in spite of all these barriers. And it's going to wind up, I think, being a very spiritual moment out in the world. It'll be historical in the end. But just don't go into hate against anybody you think is doing you wrong, because as soon as you go into hate, what happens is that you join the dark side, right? I mean, it's just like Star Wars. You join the dark side if you go into hate. And what we have to do is cultivate this agape love, open heart. All of that is transforming in terms of the creative breakthroughs we can have when we do that contemplation work and meditation, and it starts to come in. All the intuitive intelligence starts to come in, and we sense our soul's dream. And once you sense it, then it's a zone you get into, and then the synchronicity happens. And it's something the whole human race is discovering exists. But in a new generation, the millennials, they're unifiers, I think. Mm-hmm. Each generation skips around creativity and unification. So baby boomers like us, where we had ideas and theories and all that kind of stuff. Next generation that's come in, millennials, are thinking, okay, well, all that's fine, but how do we put it into daily life? How do we unify around it? How do we use that, take those, make new values?
Right? Everybody, wait, here's the big one.
So that's happening in my view.
Yeah, I mean, this is really, it's a beautiful guide. It's really a guidebook to kind of like, and I'm going to hold it up again for those of you who don't know who James is, and I can't imagine anybody in the world who doesn't. We're talking to James Redfield, New York Times bestselling author of many, many books, including the Celestine Prophecy. I love this. Barry Goldstein is here. Barry, Grammy Award-winning musician, Barry Goldstein. And he shared that I have applied so many aspects of James's books in my life, and amazing synchronicities and collaborations have occurred that have rippled out to assist many people. So grateful for your work. Sometimes asking one additional question to a person can open up a whole new world. It's so true, Barry. So true. And Susan is sharing that she's so grateful for the synchronicity to be aligned with my being, spirit, soul today, to tune in here, to listen. I love it. And people from the Netherlands in the Netherlands, it's a very, very well-known book all over the world.
Yeah.
So how do we, the main kind of theme in the book is synchronicities and paying attention to synchronicities. How do we, when we're so caught up in this, especially right now, there's, for some people's lives, there's more stress, there's more tension, there's more intensity going on. How do we start relaxing and paying attention to the synchronicities? How do we increase that into our lives?
Well, I think the first move is to make time for contemplation, right? Make time for, if you don't meditate, think about creating contemplation time. And all it is, all meditation is just focusing on your center and your heart and try to quiet the mind, right? I think we also should be trying to not just, let go of all these crazy thoughts and the stress of those, but also let go of our negative emotions. So, there's a lot of fear out there because it's actually appropriate, but it can be debilitating if not released. And the only thing that can release these lower emotions is a true intention to open up to what's been called in the human potential movement, agape love. Mm-hmm. So our master emotion, our spiritual connected motion is love. Now, if you think love is too syrupy or it's not relevant in a world that's you have to fight through, just the opposite is true.
Right.
Love-centered heart, open heart is the most centered, powerful, strong, and also links you with your intuitive intelligence, the help you get intuitively. So the more you can release the emotions that are a problem and move toward agape love and just, we've all felt love. The idea is it's agape love is love without an object. It's a state of love. Now, again, that's the ticket to have enough peace. We really you have to expect what many religious texts, including the Bible, call a peace that surpasses all understanding. And that's a real experience. And if you intend for that, if you ask for that, if you spend enough time, make 20 minutes a day. You can do it on your walk. It's not, you don't have to have your eyes closed. Just clear your mind, open your heart, and practice that. And that gets bigger and bigger. And your silent part of yourself gets bigger and bigger. And that's how you begin to hear these gentle nudges, these intuitions, these gut feelings, a thought that just drops into your head like calling an old friend. Mm-hmm. But anything else, because that's giving you direction so that you can be somewhere or doing something that sets you up for a breakthrough synchronicity. So that's how mysterious the world really is. And the powers that be try to convince you that you're just a physical body and that's all there is, and there's nothing going on in life. No spirituality.
We know better.
That just transhuman. Connect to our electronics. Let us put let us put a chip in the vaccine so that you can keep up with how many vaccines we've given you over time.
Let's not go there, right?
I'm just saying.
No,
You know,
we're just throwing it out there,
break
right?
through to your spiritual, and there's a protection that comes with spiritual connection because you get intuitions of what to avoid. So that's the real life, the real potential we have, and it's one just has to go get on that path and prove it to yourself.
I love that. It almost feels like I was talking to Ariel Ford one day, of course, who you know as well. And Ariel was talking to me about something called Santosha. And that's like just complete and total contentment. And when you were talking about just allowing ourselves to drop into that just total ultimate peace place, I mean, I felt that energy for you. I mean, whenever I'm in your presence, I just kind of like, this crazy neurotic Leo over here. You somehow mellow me out just into that calm, centered place, James.
You mellow everybody else out too.
Oh, I love it.
But it's a real experience that's available. We're not selling you something, we're not selling you something. Nobody's making this up. This is what's possible for your life.
Right.
And the next thing you should do is find a community of people that believe in a miraculous spiritual life. There are the communities popping up all over the place. We have one on Celestine Vision, as I mentioned.
Yeah, I'm going to put your website on here so I know that. Oh, Erica, you love this book. I see you, Erica. I'm going to put your website on here for everybody because you're teaching a class right now, aren't you? And you also have a community.
Yeah, the class just gotten started on and moving all this into your life, and people have questions, but answers come.
Go hang with James Redfield for a while, guys. And I just posted your website, CelestineVision.com, and you can check out the class that you're doing there and other kinds of fun stuff. And
it's a conversation, it's the conversation. I mean, we support each other. It's an energy level we keep. We don't. We just share, and so nobody's telling anybody what to do. It's just about sharing your journey with other people.
And it's important to have these conversations right now, more than ever right now, especially because I think you're right. It's almost as if we've been given this time and space for it's like we're all in timeout. We're all go into your corner and think a little bit. Go into your corner and meditate a little bit, right? And contemplate and pay attention to the energy of the universe and what's possible.
And set intentions. That's one of the key experiences. Every time you meditate, every time you do anything, set an intention.
Mm-hmm.
In gratitude, that's faith power. If you're grateful for something that hasn't happened yet, that's how you establish a kind of faith power, which is a real force in the world. And all this can be proved to oneself. Get into alignment with how the world's really supposed to work, and life goes easier.
It's true. Absolutely true. So I have a couple of questions about the book.
Okay.
So I know these answers, but I know that I know people ask this all the time. And if anybody has any questions, just go ahead and put it in the comments because I'm watching the comments as well. So what really inspired you to write this? Because you were a therapist, right? Is that right?
That's right. Well, when I first started, I first had the urge to write before I had any idea what to write about.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that was interesting to me. I didn't even know any writers, but it was after, and I had a kind of vision, which people, our daydreams are really important. Some of them are outrageous sounding, right? But that's a part of ourself that we're getting that's giving us clues. So I had a big daydream one time out camping, beautiful spot, and I kind of saw the whole thing. Now that sounds, I don't tell this much because because what happened to me is not special. We all have a calling. But what I saw is a book that would be fairly popular around the world.
Fairly popular.
Intimidated me completely.
Broke publishing industry records. It was on New York Times bestseller.
I saw all that, and I was 21 or something. And I just thought, well, that's the stupidest pipe dream that I've ever seen.
Oh.
I've ever done, and I just totally wrote it off until some of the things I saw started to happen to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it works. That's, when you find your calling, and listen, finding one's calling has nothing to do with being famous in any way. It's about telling a truth in some manner.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's just what you do with your grandchildren or what you do with your children, and, that truth comes out and fulfills you, there's an argument that doing it locally in your community is the most important kind of work you can do.
Right.
But with me, the key is to kind of believe in it and then start to see and start to center yourself in your own journey and realize that there's a kind of a destiny feeling you'll start to get about some project. And I'm sure that happened to you, Liz, when you decided to go after this first example that you could pull this off. You started hosting all these great group things for people. So with me, it was that, it was years later that I really started to do that. I felt like I had read enough and worked enough. I worked with challenged teenagers and their families. Laboratory for control roomers, right?
Well, that's a journey. Teenagers, yes.
So it was pretty fun, and it just started. I started to believe in it, and many years later, it was the best-selling book in the world.
I know.
So you never know. Books are special because you never know. You work on it in solitary, and you never know what's going to happen to a book you write.
And you were literally handing it out from your car. You were handing it out to people.
No.
So here's something very, very cool. So Joanne Coldwell wrote,
okay,
this is awesome. She wrote, so amazing. I'm reading this right now. Put the book down and opened the phone, and this is on right now.
Ooh, that's a great synchronicity.
That is so cool, Joanne.
I love that.
Wow. I love that. I love that. And so now this experience, so here's my question for you. So Joanne's had this experience, right? And here you are,
yes.
Right? Here is the author of this amazing book that you're reading, Joanne. Like, what are the odds of that happening? That's like crazy. And so now what could she do? Like maybe investigate your community, investigate like a little bit more, see what's in that. So when we see a synchronicity happen, should we go towards it and see, oh, maybe there is something here for me.
The two things.
Maybe your next best friend is in that community that you have. I mean, who knows?
That's right. And the thing is to investigate. Okay. Just go, just really look at all angles of whatever kind of synchronicity, because just the fact of the synchronicity is not the meaning of the synchronicity. Because if you go to the shopping mall, and you go in the door and there's a person you notice, and then you see the person across the going into the same shop as you, and then later when you're getting something to eat, you see that person is right across the table from you. The next table from you. It does you no good just to go home and tell everybody, I had this really interesting synchronicity. I saw this person 4 times or 3 times. That doesn't do any good.
Maybe you're supposed to call that person.
You have to learn to strike up a conversation. You have to learn to dig deeper until you go, oh, that's why that happened to me. I was supposed to dig deeper.
Yeah.
So I would just recommend when that happens to somebody, look into the Celestine world, what we're doing.
Yeah.
But also start to be open for other synchronicities. That's one that gets your attention, right?
This really must have gotten
there are other subtle ones that we don't see unless we train ourselves to be looking all the time. I mean, I always notice, certainly who I'm sitting with on an airplane when I used to fly, and or across the table, the next table where you're eating, we orbit each other with messages. And so the human race is just learning to do all this, right? We're just learning to be available because we've been indoctrinated in this. The world is just a material place that nothing really happens by,
Right.
So as we get better at it, this will be the norm in the world, and it's going to take more generations to come to that place. But to just don't forget that synchronicity exists when these things happen, and then start to look for them. The other thing I like to talk about in terms of having more synchronicity is ask yourself, what are my primary questions right now? Do you need help with a problem? Okay, that's the question. How do I get help with this problem? What is the solution to the problem? Set an intention. Okay, I see this answer coming to me to solve this problem. And I'm grateful for that answer coming to me in advance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then you wait and you try to be very, very alert to anything that pertains to handling that problem.
Right.
And I'm telling you that once you do that, it always happens. It's just that people haven't gotten into the routine to do those kinds of things in life because we have our lists that we're trying to get through. And you can, if you apply this to the list you're trying to get through every day, then that list will be taken care of faster.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just applying this to daily life is what's ready to happen now and is happening.
I love that. And here's another person, Tracy Smith. She's sharing. I love this. This is so awesome. I'm going to start crying. She loved the Celestine Prophecy, changed her life 25 years ago. Although I read The Secret of Shambhala years ago, I just finished reading it again 2 nights ago. And here you are. Isn't that crazy?
That means go deeper. Or talk about it more with other people.
Yeah.
That's important too, because
so
if you're talking about this, it's fresh in your mind and these little miracles can happen.
Something else is going on, right?
That's right.
So Carol hasn't gotten the book yet. She said, how can this book help us with our lives?
Well, generally, life is not supposed to be so hard. It's designed to be easier. But we have to become aware of the kind of help and how we want to give. I tell people all the time, where do you want to be in a month? Where do you want to be in a year? You've got to sort of daydream on where you want to be because your soul knows. And if you believe, you can find a kind of transcendent place where, all this information comes in, life begins to be easier. But karma is also basic. You have to wake up in the morning making sure that you're giving. Who can you give energy to? If that's all you have to give with the people you meet in a day, just make sure you try to look for the happiest, fulfilled expression on the face of the other person, the more spiritually connected face. And that's what you talk to. You talk about the weather or whatever, but be looking for that highest expression, what mystics call the glory on each face. If you look for the glory behind the face, sometimes people pop into that kind of connected place right in front of you. So that's magical, but it's a highly good karma thing to do. And if we do that routinely, what happens is that we start to have people coming in looking for the best in us.
Right.
And out of that comes, again, the flow of synchronicity and the creative energy that comes with it.
That's beautiful. That is just beautiful. Thank you. Oh, somebody just said, when I wake up in the morning, I try to remember to say myself, how may I be of service today? Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, that's great. This has just been such a beautiful conversation. I'm so glad that you said yes. And if you didn't, I would have texted you 100 times and said, say yes, say yes, say yes. You know me by now. Oh, thank you so much for being here and having this conversation. And again, we've been talking to James. Pick up the book, James Redfield. Pick it up. And if you have young people in your life that are searching, seeking, or not, I think this is such a beautiful book as a gift. This has really given me a great idea, because I do have a lot of millennials in my life, nieces and nephews, and I think this is going to be on my holiday present list this year. Absolutely, it's a great book.
It'll be fun because it always later you have the conversation, about it.
Right.
That's even more fun.
Right. Or we come bring you back again and have another conversation.
I would love it. I would love always with you. You bring the wisdom out in people, and so thanks for what you do.
Thank you.
Let's open up somewhere as soon as we can. Have some more gatherings.
Yes, we absolutely need to have another Celebrate Your Life live event. And everybody, make sure, I'm going to type in James's website again for more information, for the class that he's teaching, and it's celestinevision.com. I went ahead and just posted it in the comments. All right, James, stay right there. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Mwah!
Goodbye, all.
Oh, everybody's wishing you beautiful wishes.